Hello. Religion played a central role in the life of medieval England. Administratively, the church was divided into sees or dioceses. For most of the medieval period, there were 19 dioceses under 17 bishops, with Bath and Wells and Coventry and Lichfield combined under a single bishop. Medieval England was essentially two interlocking states: a lay state headed by the king, and part of a religious state that stretched across much of Western Europe, ruled by the Pope and represented in England by the senior bishop, the Archbishop of Canterbury. With rival authorities, occasional disputes were inevitable. The choice of candidates for the most senior church positions, for example, often proved a source of controversy in the medieval period. For ordinary people, the visible elements of cathedral activities were the colourful services and processions which on major occasions and festivals were conducted with great theatricality. Bishops appeared dressed in sumptuous robes and with the regalia conferred at their ordination, the emblems of their authority. The bishop's staff, or crozier, has a long tradition as a symbol. When Pope Gregory, St. Gregory the Great, prescribed its use along with an episcopal ring in 590, he was confirming an already established practice rather than creating a tradition. Loosely based on a shepherd's crook, the crozier references the bishop's role as shepherd of his and God's flock. Some croziers are plain and simple, but many have elaborate designs, sometimes incorporating coats of arms, adding to their impact. Typically, the crozier is carried as a visible symbol of authority when a bishop confers sacraments, listens to vows, presides at the liturgy, or preaches, and is held in the left hand, leaving the right hand with an episcopal ring worn on the third finger free to administer blessings. In the 1190s, Pope Innocent III decreed episcopal rings should be made of gold and set with precious gemstones. In ecclesiastical heraldry, used in coats of arms and on seals, the crozier and the mitre, a tall ceremonial headdress based on those worn by officials of the Byzantine court that adds to the wearer's height and visibility, represent pastoral authority. Personal seals became increasingly popular with church hierarchy from the mid-11th century and were used to validate documents, commonly in an oval shape known as a mandorla, a shape often used to surround icons in the Eastern Orthodox Church and saints in Western illuminated manuscripts. Bishops chose their own designs. Monarchs have thrones to demonstrate their authority. Bishops too had thrones, their cathedra, situated in the cathedral choir nearest to the altar and usually set higher than the stalls alongside, further emphasising the occupant's importance. Among the most impressive is an elaborate oak masterpiece created by Master Mason Thomas of Whitney in the early 14th century for Bishop Stapledon of Exeter, who also served as High Treasurer of England. A bishop's ceremonial ordination was specifically designed to invest the recipient with authority and status. Carried out by an archbishop or a senior bishop, it was seen as a sacrament, involving special prayers and with a ritual laying on of hands, a moment when it was believed the ordinant was endowed with the gift of truth certain, thereby becoming a direct link in the chain of succession from the first apostles, further elevating their position of authority. The earliest record of laying on of hands as part of a sacramental process is in the early 3rd century, but it's highly likely to have been practiced before. The idea of a separate laity and clergy emerged in the second half of the 2nd century. With separation came the requirement for a ceremony, an ordination to set the clergy apart. Ordination increased the power of the clergy, and required the laity to submit to their authority and leadership. An ordained minister was essential for salvation, to ensure the validity of sacraments, and at the top of the diocesan hierarchy was the bishop. Only a bishop could consecrate a church, or bless the holy oil essential for religious sacraments, or ordain a priest. No one could preach in a diocese without the bishop's permission. The church had the power to excommunicate a group or an individual, forbidding other Christians from having dealings with them, and depriving them of the right to receive sacraments, a grave threat in a deeply religious age. After the Norman conquest, bishops presided over consistory or commissary courts and exercised considerable jurisdiction over everyday life. Archdeacons convened local church courts. Regular church visitations enforced standards and dealt with matters of moral welfare, issuing parishioners with penances for their transgressions, which might include, for example, not attending church regularly or failure to observe official doctrine. Church courts dealt with many cases brought by women. In civil courts in the medieval period, women didn't count as a legal entity, but in the eyes of the church they had souls, and in moral and spiritual matters, where a soul was at stake, women mattered. Until the Reformation, church courts dealt with divorce, and continued to have a role afterwards where immorality was alleged, until the mid-19th century. This is the courtroom at Chester Cathedral, founded in 1541. The presiding official occupies an elevated position to emphasise their importance. Before being replaced by the Court of Probate in 1858, church courts dealt with wills, the logic being to ensure adherence to the deceased's last wishes. Today they mainly deal with internal faculty issues and clerical discipline. In the medieval period, the church reached into every aspect of life. Bishops exercised considerable power in their diocese, and their lifestyles reflected this position of authority. I shall explore that topic next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.